Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Kind of light from Fire Per Heart, children of God, and that's you, and hopefully it's me and me too. I wanted to go over a few things from last year and that I had thought I was getting messengery, but I've been steering away a lot from that because of I get a lot of harassment in the sense of Y2K or Y something. So I have to combat a lot of, I don't know if you call it, I don't know if it'd be military grade, but it's through groups that just, I don't know, they just silently terrorizing people like me. And there's many of us, but we're labeled as certifiable. So, meaning put us in a bin. I wanted to try to go over last year, around this time of the fall, I get things sometimes to do with the following year, if they happen or not. Sometimes they end up happening pretty accurately. And then sometimes it's mainly the warning of, like, last fall I was getting a lot of strong messages that if there was these few key characters, it would have been several, but because actually several very influential people either renewed their faith in Jesus or they found God finally. So that occurred, but what I was getting with Jesus was that if these certain people didn't renew or reconcile or get back to the Lord, or find Jesus, that there was going to be a form of a blackout. Now, there's going to be a lot that I'm going to try to go over, and I'm going to try to stay solid and not start flitting around. I've got most of it wrote down, okay? I wrote it down just a second ago, and then I will try to loop, if I have to loop back around to tie them together. So because of these main influencers, we'll just say that, influential people, prominent, you could say excessively wealthy. They have major followings of, well, literally on the verge of cult followings, but we won't get into that. I don't know how often you visit my station. I am mainly a warner. I do at least try to do some positive things sometimes, so you understand, I am not always in that mindset. I don't go around constantly looking for, the sun to explode. We're going to be diving into that a little bit because I was revisiting the studies of HAARP. There was several warners way back when the HAARP went into Alaska. If you were to line that up now with the excessive, I guess you could say, holes in the sun or in the stratosphere or in the atmosphere, in relation to the sun, all of these damaging effects on the climate were man-made, okay? HAARP was very dangerous. There was scientists or some other, I don't know how many men. I remember seeing the major documentary back. I would have been either getting close to graduating high school, and I was, oh my God, I was trying to get to Jesus, but I was also leaning too analytically to try to analyze myself out of having to believe in God, because I was already a pretty big bag of a mess, or getting to that, and kept it as hidden as possible, but I could tell that I was in a need to either commit to therapy or something. Even then, in the sense of, say, I was always decently still all right with, like, the idea of a creator, it was getting down to the personal level of Jesus, this supposedly this guy that, walked on water and stuff. And so I need to remember, like, how far I've come with all that. So when I found out about the HAARP, and these guys were warning how damaging this was going to be to everything, wildlife, nature, climate, weather, I was really upset. And I most likely would have probably, it'd be hard to remember now, but at least getting out of high school, I probably would have tried to get petitions on that too, against it. Because I had a strong hankering or whatever, I wanted to go to Alaska. I didn't know if it would just be a short visit. I knew that I wouldn't want to be where it gets really dark for several months. I wouldn't be able to handle that very well. I would have had to have a sun lamp. But I'm already not staying on track here very well. Matthew 24:27 and Revelation 6:12. Now I'm still, I was in and out of the churches. I would have been immediately exposed to the rapture thing. That's in every church. And just reading some news. And I will be checking over there because I made some tea for us. He had to stay home. I don't know when it started last week. He said he got a Subway. A guy at work bought him a Subway. We don't know. It's hard to know sometimes what happens to us. Stomach thing. And I've been like having some added weird. And my eyes may appear extremely red because we did do some cleaning. And I did a stupid thing. And I took this table that was old. It was already ancient. Like super ancient. Like it may or may not be as old as this house, if not older. And we didn't get it in the house, and I think just being out in the garage, and it was old, and kind of shuffling it, moving it, and it was old. It dry rotted. I mean, the thing was probably early 1800s or late 17s. I'd have to look it back up again, but... So what I mean is I had to be untrained from the rapture thing. I was actually a little bit hung up on it, but it was because it just didn't seem like if the dang thing was going to happen, it would have already happened. It just wasn't lining up, and then I would get frustrated because it was difficult to find teachers that weren't believing in rapture. So, and that's where we're very grateful for Pastor Baldwin to get a lot of those kinks out. But that doesn't mean I still don't have some lingering effects of the false teachings on that. I mean, I remember visiting churches after I got saved, and I just like to visit different churches. It wasn't that I was not committed. I was committed to the one, but there was a sexual harassment that happened to me, and nobody cared. I ended up leaving out of there and pretty much a bag of mess again. The daughter groomed me for about 2 years or so. She was doing skits with me, but she was grooming me. I didn't know. I would visit churches, and I like to visit excitable ones, apostolic, just any different kinds, just to kind of figure out what the heck, why was there was all these different ones. And a lot of the churches, that their main focus week in and week out was rapture ready, you know what I mean? I mean, it was like a rapture brainwash. And that even was weird back then. I was like, I don't think this is what we're supposed to be focused on. And, and then they get closed in. They're in their little groups, and they're not out ministering. They're not even out. They're just kind of in this enclosed bubble. And I don't think that was why we're called to Jesus. But everyone has a different calling on what we do. But mostly it's stated that we are all to share the gospel, the good news of New Testament. So if I have a little bit of this wrong, and I'm already like feeling like I can't even bear with myself right now, where are we going on this? Okay, so those few people found God. God was showing me these people. I was seeing it. I try to sit on a lot of this stuff because of the external harassment. And remotely is they all got to Jesus. So, but this blackout thing is still possibly on the horizon because of, please Lord be with me, help me tie this together, because of the damage to the sun. But see, the powers that the earth is controlled by, meaning the influential people that have all the money, They are still trying to scare people and scare the children that all of these weather changes and stuff are entirely our fault. No, if we want to blame, then put some blame on like extreme industrial areas. For instance, like the one driving up to get into Detroit off of 75. I mean, it's so toxically odored that, I mean, and people have been up there dying of emphysema and have generational emphysema and a bunch of terminal type literally inherited from this pollution when you're trying to get into the city. Some of it they got a little under control at one point. I don't know what's going on now, but you got to have your windows up and it still comes into the car. That's one reason why we don't drive up to the city. And I've always thought it was so bizarro that they had it where you drive right up and you just see all of this toxic wasteland all around, and it's all the industrialization of the just pollution, but it's the stuff we need to survive and have our luxuries and our conveniences. So these holes on the sun and these flares, see, it is kind of all convening into something. I'm not going to say yay or nay, I know 100%, but it's something to do with, okay, so how long has the heart been? It's been about 30 years. It's been about 30 years. So we've been tampering and causing more damage from man-made stuff. So we have the towers, we had the harp. The harp got the ball rolling. There was testimony and even knowledge of the harp had barely been going and how far it was able to radiate through the earth. So there we're shifting stuff around. Then the pipelines, the fracking. Okay, so all of this conjoins is there's now 6 or so main characters. The 6th seal may or may not have already happened. I don't know what Chuck was saying on that. I still have to go back, because when you get brainwashed and you had this one thing told you for a long, long time about the book of Revelation, it's not always the easiest to get all that fully untied immediately. So sometimes I err, but if I was to go back when I started the station, well, not this particular one, I shut quite a few down, is I was wondering still about rapture, and I was still coming from what I had been told, which was false teachings. But what I'm trying to say is I felt like I had to do this morning. I'm not going to say specifically that I wanted to do it. This is something to do with Bitcoins, aliens, the theories of aliens. They've been revving that up for a long time. And something with these main characters that all of a sudden we're going to make America great again. Matthew 24:27 and Revelation 6:12. Matthew 24:27, and I may have to get up and get the tea and maybe just be able to maybe like regroup here what notes I took. Is, oh no, my Bible, it's ripping. Oh, jeez. The part about the second coming, for as the lightning comes out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will be the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth of man coming into the clouds of heaven with power and great glory shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of the heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Okay, so that would be that's the final. And we don't know. I mean, it could be a long, long time from now yet. The thing is, though, is with the suns, this extra activity, with the solar flares, with the man-made stuff, all of it it's a disaster. It's going to be disastrous for the sun. Human life cannot exist without the sun. God can do what he wants. He can heal the sun. He might just be replenishing the sun. He may be recreating the sun. It goes through these periodic cycles and through human history. If there was a time when the sun wasn't functioning right, and then if that really was the ice age, a lot of this stuff we're not, you know. And then this does say a new heaven and earth were created, and I just turned to this. This was chapter 21. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And then my nose is just going to itch really weird all of a sudden. So we were cleaning stuff, and a bunch of dust went in my face. I got it cleaned off in time, but my eyes are now red today. So if anyone's wondering, that's why. They're quite red. I tried to go in and wash up early, but it was already too late, and the dust and debris had got me. So, well, I don't know. I just turned to that. That's going to get us off course. So the sixth seal, this is what I was, when I woke up, is there's something with these main people, is this hype. It's such a major hype that I've never seen in all of the times of election. You're going to say, how would she throw aliens in there? Well, it's going to, I don't know when this might happen, but whenever this darkness will happen, and I don't mean it's going to happen this coming year. It's something off, but it's not too far off. Like, I don't think I could, like, say, oh, it's for sure more than 10 years off. It's something going to be used with these main characters that are going to supposedly renew America. People are desperate. People are so desperate. That's when stuff can really get scary. Because if we're so desperate, then we're willing to believe just about anything to get out of the pain or the whatever we're experiencing, and depending on how long. You know, of how long has a person been in, like, economic strife. So, in this Bitcoin thing, something with this Bitcoin that's so off for me, but it could just be that part of me that I just never feel like I was part of this modern, I just wasn't meant for this type of, any of this technological, well, for one, it's wreaked havoc on me, so, I don't feel like I was ever made for this, too modern stuff. I just don't see any good in it. You know, the lithium mines and the quartz, and they're saying that down there, this disaster could very well be part of that, and that's planned genocide. Clear people off the land and scoop it up. So there might be more than 6. It just seems like I'm being mean all the time, but it's just, this is what I have to do. I apologize. I do apologize. Okay, so we have Musk. He's what, one of the richest men, if not the richest man in the world. Tulsi has left the Demo party, went over to Republican. RFK left. Trump, Vance, and something with Tucker. I don't know. It's like 6 or more. I don't know. I'm just sharing this. It doesn't mean much. Maybe someone else will get something from it. Or this will inspire someone else to get the proper translation. But the 6th seal, that is interesting, because that's the part where, well, if we were believing in rapture, then this was in relation to something different. But if you just read it, and did it already happen? Maybe it did. But the black is sackcloth, the moon, okay, excuse me, the sun. So we wouldn't see the sun, and then there would be the moon, but this could have already happened, and I'm thinking maybe Pastor Baldwin did go over this, and I'm messing it up again, is, well, it's a good example of how brainwashing is very difficult to unwind if you were taught the wrong thing, and it was just constantly embedded into you. I don't know, this is just, that's all I'm getting, and it's taking too long, again, because we're tying in Revelation 6:12, and I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her ultimate figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island removed out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and the rocks of the mountains, and said unto the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Okay, so this other thing, there was this trip that was messed up, but it was in 2009. We ended up, we were literally using a paper map. I don't even know if we had a full minute phone yet. We ended up in Vail, Colorado. Me and my son were really sick. It's hard to explain everything, but by the time we got over towards the mountains out of this region, we were looking better. We were feeling better. But we ended up in Vail. We had to stop in Vail. We were like living out of the car more or less. So we stopped. We stayed at this hotel there to get some. They had mountain water in the hot tub and the pool. But we had to adjust to the higher altitude. My son did struggle at first, but we got it figured out, and the Lord healed him. And but it ended up being this like freakazoid, like the underground type. I mean, that's what was so nuts about this. That we ended up lost to some degree. We had to just like pretty much stay in Vail, but it was really expensive, and we didn't really have enough money. But we had to get in. We had to get into a motel. We had to get, you know, freshened up and rested up, and just some comforts, you know, creature comforts and stuff. So, and we started to look even much better. But I was still, they were still, at that time I wouldn't have known, but they were really messing me up. Well, it was this freakazoid convention, and this vampire we ended up bolting out of there. God gave me these messages, and I was to just pretty much yelp them out. And I did, and we saw some of these creatures on the elevator, and it's hard to explain, but all I've ever been able to really say is it was as if they were trying to have like a human appearance, but they weren't fully human underneath, and it was based on how their eyes were and everything, and it was very creepy, and it was very scary. And unfortunately, my only witness, and he may forget about all of it now, was my son, and he was only about 10-ish. And we had Holmes, and Holmes loved everyone. He was a Rottweiler lab mix, but he looked like a lab mostly, but he was super smart. And if he thought something was messed up, like real messed up, he wasn't friendly, but he wouldn't be mean. But I remembered he was freaked out about these guys. There's no way for me to explain this. If I even tried, it even makes it seem even more bizarro. There was one taller guy that was slender. Then there was this other one, and he had like this thing sticking out. But he just didn't look human, and he was like kind of attached to the other guy. There was a pedophile thing going on. This vampire had 2 close to dead old people in the back of her car. Somehow she followed us all the way out to the desert. I don't even think we were in Colorado anymore. You're like, what does this have to do with this alien thing and all this stupid stuff you're saying this morning? Well, what it is that if there is a soon-to-be blackout, because there has actually been an accelerated rate of grid issues, electric grid, no power, even if it comes back on in so many days, but a more condensed amount. Something with this group that's going to save America, and something with them, the Bitcoin, but also that they're going to try to present this alien thing differently. And this theory, I think, has been out there before. But for instance, if we're in enough darkness for long enough days, how desperate are we going to be? Are we going to believe that this, we'll just say another species of beings, something that they're going to help us. They're going to help us harness, you know, with all this technology we have, right? So to be able to help us harness a fake sun in a way. And there's been theories that there's already some stuff going on with that they're not telling anyone about, because they know the actual sun is so damaged. And that you got to remember, the people running the world, they're ahead of us, like way ahead, to plot out the little people, us, our demise, and to keep us blind. And so say we have several months, most of us won't even make it that long. We need the sun. We have to have the sun for life, for food, everything. That's basic. See, there's been scaring people, right? That you have to go green. We have to do this grid. We have to do this green thing. We have to do this green bill. Because why? Because we've damaged the earth and the sun, and we need to feel bad about it. No, we don't. Something with these characters, this trying to shift us over to non-regular currency, which we won't be doing that, so we'll be screwed. We don't know what is going on with all that stuff. What's Bitcoin and what's the other one? Musk is like one of the top runners of that whole thing, right? Or something. So you give people enough days of no sun, and what's going to happen? Well, first of all, it's going to obviously affect the food chain and the farmers. So why are they knocking all the farmers out? Because they already know. They know the sun is in danger. It's not doing well. We all know that if we observe anything at all. For God's sakes, there wasn't, I don't remember a time 30 years ago where I couldn't at least just kind of look up a little bit without feeling like I was being blinded. And that could just be my eyes are damaged, but I don't think so. It feels different. It looks different. We took a drive last night as the sun was going down, and it looked gorgeous, but it was definitely some different stuff was going on. You could see the Aurora Borealis, I guess, really well somewhere yesterday, I suppose. Last 24 hours. So I think there is something brewing here. And so we're going to put our trust in men, right? And you took too long on a video that you could have probably tightened this up to 15 minutes. And then we're going to, they know the sun's going out, so they already were getting rid of the farmers, right? Just shutting them all down. They know something's wrong. Any of us that have tried to grow food and all that, we know something's wrong. Some of us are getting contaminated and poisoned more, so we have a small aircraft, almost like clockwork, goes over the house every day, either prior to me doing videos, during downloading videos, or if I comment or I'm interacting with another group that's doing awareness lessons, more or less, to be aware. The poles have been shifting. They said, oh, the poles are going to shift. No, they've been shifting. This probably has happened more than once. Like I said, this is part of the whole cycle of the earth. Whatever God does to rejuvenate Mother Earth, it has to be cleansed. Things have to go in the cycles of natural law to keep things going forward with nature and life as we know it. Now this, I'm going to be jumping to the illegals too on this, is I do think they're going to kind of abandon us at some point. But there's something that they're going to act like they're going to harness this. We have to become friends with this other species. And if we don't, that they can help us harness you could say a fake sun or rebuild the sun. I don't know the specifics of it, but there's going to be enough of a blackout, and I don't know when. Maybe it is over 10 years away. Like I said, I can't do the time frame thing. I just know there's something tied in with this big to-do with these saviors. We got all this big group now. This big group's going to save America. It's going to save the planet. And then the sun is not acting right. And there's these flares, and then there's the holes, and then all of this, the towers and stuff affecting everything. Animals are not acting right. There's been reports of animals not sleeping enough. Their behavior is extremely bizarre. not natural. They're not acting as they once did. I'm talking birds, other larger animals, predator-type animals, ones that would have normally slept during the day and maybe were up at night. They're not sleeping at all. They're not acting right. And I think there is something to do with this. So they were trying to make aliens like seem like they're friends. And I don't know what else to call them. They're going to be another species, but they're not really there to be good to us. That's all I'm getting. And I know that these theories have been said before. When Jesus was crucified, the sun went black for 3 hours. It could most likely was an eclipse. Maybe it's just some sort of permanent eclipse, or where the sun is darker. But it's definitely something with the desperation of people and this trick and the people saving us. And the only one that can save us is who? Jesus and God. Having our faith in God. That's it. I feel like I'm forgetting something on here. Well, yeah, I mean, we kind of saw you write your notes. And Pastor Baldwin said something funny. I never heard of it in my life. It's either beans in a wet bag or wet beans in a bag. And I don't know. I got to look up what that meant. And I meant to do that before I came on. And the thing is I don't really like to go against the grain. Do you know what that means? Have you ever done any sanding? You do any carpentry work, and if you go against the grain, you mess it up. You get scratches on it. And when you're sanding, you have to go with the grain. I don't know. It's like I always have to go against the grain. And I don't want to. Like people would say, oh, no, you want to. No, not really. I know that it would have made life a whole lot easier, I suppose, on this earth if I had just went along with the grain. Maybe I could be cooped up in one of the mega churches still thinking that we're all getting saved. When I started going in and visiting some of them, it was like they have their own little mini city going on inside the church. I'm like, oh my God, this is a mess. What a mess. Oh, asteroid near Cali did hit the ground. I don't know what happened from there recently, the last week or so. And one or both of the Dakota states is refusing illegals. So I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I don't know if they're just dumping them back over the border, like of a state, or if they're shipping them back down over the border, the main border. So it's either North or South Dakota, and as far as I know, they're refusing illegals. And if they're spotted, I don't know if they're just shipping them out. I don't really know. I'd like to say these people are going to save our country, and everything's going to go back to normal, but I don't know when that would be. I don't think that's anytime soon. God's been revving me up for this stuff for 20 years, I bet. And not once in 20 years did he ever say it's very, very soon. It's almost, oh, what is it? Meaning final judgment. It was always more, no, it's quite a ways off. You don't need to concern yourself with that right now. You need to learn about these other things. And, you know, I would get like 30 years, 20 years. Now it's not much longer. It's mainly like almost any day. Like it's so close, something, and be it it's just that one thing, even, that it's the war, and that these certain pockets are going to be decimated, and that he'll have to rebuild with whoever's left. And I don't foresee, I mean, maybe John might, but from what I see us going through, like what happens to us almost on a day-to-day basis, if it isn't some sort of contamination or something else, it is, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have to take him back, we're going to have to get him back at the hospital, and then I'm having like some weird stuff. But I think it's kind of feels more of like stress related, but I'm not sure. So I literally get almost every day, or if it's more of a more challenging day, and it could just be me. Like I had the silent explosion at Brentwood that I couldn't prove. And do you know the guy that helped orchestrate that? He's actually running for some like higher position at the college. Like a murderer. a murderer type. It's the kind of town we live in. And from what I experienced being his neighbor, he shouldn't even be allowed to be around women. So I don't know. So I just get it's so soon that it's sooner than later, but it could just be that I'm checking out sooner than later. I don't get that much clarity on that, but this accumulation of events and the way it's being presented is, I would say, definitely cling to Jesus, but don't believe this malarkey, okay? Because it's just a big bag of wet beans in a paper bag. I know I said it wrong. I'll look it up and get it right. I gotta go.